Prosperity for all nations and all people. We want to give every one of our citizens, men and women alike, young and old alike, greater opportunity to find work, to save and spend money, to pursue happiness, ultimately to live up to their own God-given potentials. That is a clear and simple vision to state. But to make it real, to achieve the economic expansion we all seek, we need to unlock a vital source of growth that can power our economies in the decades to come. And that vital source of growth is women. With economic models straining in every corner of the world, none of us can afford to perpetuate the barriers facing women in the workforce. Because by increasing women's participation in the economy and enhancing their efficiency and productivity, we can bring about a dramatic impact on the competitiveness and growth of our economies. Because when everyone has a chance to participate in the economic life of a nation, we can all be richer. More of us can contribute to the global GDP. And the gap between the developed and the developing countries would narrow significantly as productivity rises in economies from Haiti to Papua New Guinea.
Scope engineer for the PanSTARRS project. This is a project that is run out of the University of Hawaii Institute for Astronomy, and the goal of this project is to photograph the entire sky visible from a single site in 5 colors as fast as we can, as many times as possible. We're trying to do that in order to try to detect everything that is changing in the sky over time. To do that, it requires 2 things. One is a telescope that has a very wide field of view, and we have a picture of the first prototype telescope down here in the corner. And the second thing that's required is a very, very large camera. This is a mock-up, a full-size mock-up of the camera that we actually have that's in operation in the PS1 telescope right now. It is a 1.44 gigapixel camera. That means that every time we take a single photograph, we've got 5 gigabytes of data. And we do this every 30 seconds throughout the entire night, which means that over a given night we have somewhere between half and 1 terabyte worth of data that we collect every single night. We have to analyze that data. Eventually we're hoping to analyze that data on the fly, so that it means that as fast as we take the data, we want to analyze it. We're not quite there with this prototype system, and with our trying to work out the bugs in the software. We take the data at night and then we analyze it in the daytime. And right now we're able to analyze about 1 night of data in about a half a day's time. So you might ask why we want to analyze data that quickly and rapidly. It's because we are interested in finding things that are changing with time, and we need to be able to analyze the data quickly in order to be able to see what's happening, so that we can alert people to the changes that are happening. So the things that are changing, for instance, one of the things that we are looking for are all of the asteroids in the solar system that are bigger than about 300 meters. Now, the 300 meters is a very important number, because it's predicted that if something larger than 300 meters were to hit the Earth, it would be a species threatening event. Smaller than that, we would probably survive. So it's very important to see and get a stock of everything in the solar system that is larger than that, so that we can protect ourselves from them if they were to hit. So this project, amongst others, is trying to find everything that could possibly have a species-threatening event on the Earth. When we take a single photograph with this camera, typically we have something on the order of, with one exposure, we have something like 1,500 objects in it that are moving. So the computer analysis of this is to find those 1,500 objects as fast as we possibly can, and then to track them and figure out what their orbits are. In doing that thousands of times, essentially we find all of the things in the solar system, where they're moving, where they will be with time, and what the things are that have the potential for hitting the Earth. At the same time, we're collecting that sort of data. We're also collecting data that's of vast interest to the general astronomical understanding of our universe. In particular, using that same type of data, you can see that we take pictures of the whole sky, and in analyzing those pictures, we're getting a much better idea of what is variable in the sky, having to do with things like supernovae. Those are telling us about how the cosmos is expanding and what its future will be. We're also getting measures of dark matter in the universe. We've never had a map of how that dark matter is distributed, and this project, we hope to be able to do that over time. So most of this that you're looking at here, in terms of the camera, was built right here at the University of Hawaii. The telescope was built by a consortium of people in Tucson, here, and in Baltimore for the optics. And they were all assembled by groups of people here. And then we've gotten them working by people here at the University of Hawaii. So this has been in operation, full operation now, for about a year. And in that year, we've already made several firsts in terms of detection of number of near-Earth asteroids. We've detected 19 of them in one night. Now, to understand what that means, for every near-Earth asteroid you detect, there are probably 5,000 regular main belt asteroids you detect. So to find 19 of them in one night is quite a feat. We've also discovered, we're discovering something on the order of about a supernova a day. And because of that rate of measuring supernovae, we're now able to put together diagrams that show us what the expansion of the universe is doing quite accurately. We're hoping over time to accumulate enough of this data so that we can get more and more precise measurements of what the universe is doing. And in addition to that, we are doing one of the highest quality measurements of the brightness of every star in our galaxy and in other galaxies to a precision that has been unknown today. We're trying to get very, very high precision measurements of the brightness of literally hundreds of millions of stars. That will allow us to measure not just the positions of stars, but also how stars change with time, how they evolve with time, and how our galaxy is moving as a dynamical entity. Stars revolve around each other, and we're actually able to measure the motion of stars relative to one another. What we used to consider the universe is nowadays what most people would consider our galaxy. If you look at, if you can look at this photograph over here, challenge. So what I'm about to show you is there's a section here in this display. This rectangle right here is the region of this camera that we're about to show you in the poster over here. This is a full resolution image of what this camera is capable of doing. And one of the things that, if you look carefully, initially when you look at this, it looks like you're looking at all stars. But the closer you look at this image, you rapidly realize that that's not the case at all. That in fact many of the objects you're looking at here are actually galaxies. Anything that you see like here, 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 here. In fact, there's probably 50 to 100 galaxies in this single image. Each one of those galaxies has about 100 billion stars in it. We used to think our universe was what we call today our galaxy. It's just one of many galaxies. And so this project is studying not just the stars in our galaxy, but it's studying the stars in other galaxies as well.
So is there any research that shows how galaxies interact? Is that one of the things, or what is it in particular that you folks are trying to identify by looking at other galaxies?
We're looking at a whole list of things. There are the interaction of one galaxy to another takes place over many years. It's too slow for you to see actual changes in the images. But what we do is we look at many interactions, and by comparing many interactions, we're able to get a better idea of how galaxies actually interact with themselves. And so in that sense, we do study galaxy interactions. Now, on a more local sense, we actually study by images like this. We study the stars in our galaxy, and we can watch the motion of those stars relative to one another. And that tells us how the stars are in motion in the galaxy itself. As well as that, we have the capabilities, because we're taking several images in different colors. We're able to discern different types of stars in the images, and by that we can also measure, we get a measure of the types of stars that exist at different places in the galaxy. So we do studies of motions of stars. We do studies of stars that are changing in brightness. For instance, when a star changes in brightness, is that a harbinger of the demise of the star? Sometimes it is. Sometimes that means that they will be exploding on you. Sometimes it means that they are just going through a phase that causes them to vary. And so all of these are really applicable questions to how does our own sun evolve? What do we expect to see in the upcoming decades and centuries in the performance of our sun? So by looking at these sorts of things, we're able to get a much better idea of what's going on in our own solar system. The Pan-STARRS project was a project to build this wide field imaging telescope. That was done through the funding that was through the Air Force, actually, but it was done here at the University of Hawaii. Once the telescope was built, there was a consortium put together to run the telescope, and that consortium consists of people all over the world. There's a list of logos along the side of this that gives you an idea of the number of institutions that are involved. They go everywhere from the Max Planck Institute in Germany to the University of Edinburgh in England to Harvard University here in the United States to here at the University of Hawaii. So it's a very multicultural, even the Taiwanese are involved. So it's a very multicultural consortium that's been put together to run the first prototype telescope. And we're hoping at some point in time when we're currently building a second telescope that will add to the capabilities of this first, and we hope we'll put together eventually another consortium to run that as well. There's a huge amount of data processing that's done right at the telescope, and it's very critical to get done rapidly and as fast as possible. There's a lot of data processing that's done on Maui, where the data resides initially. When that processing is finished, the product of that is a bunch of catalogs showing everything that's changed in the sky that we've detected. And that data set gets sent out to people around the world in order to do follow-up observations of the things that we have detected changing in the sky. That's part of what the consortium of observing partners is doing, but also there's a lot of the data that gets released just to everybody because there's just so much data that we need help in following it up.
What's next for you?
I'm currently working on the construction of the second telescope. I'm the telescope engineer for this project. And so we're hoping, like I said, to put another one right next to the first one on the summit of Haleakala. We're hoping actually that telescope will get built and be ready for seeing its first light sometime around in about a year's time from now. After that is built and commissioned, it's a good question. I don't know. We're hoping maybe we'll get a chance to build all four of these telescopes.
Are there things kids can do to start to learn about astronomy?
Absolutely. There's, in fact, even with the Pan-STARRS project, there is a learning program in place where the kids can get involved, and I think in a very fun way, which is they are provided the software to look at some of the data that we collect. They're provided with some of the data, a very small amount of the data, and they're given the opportunity to try to go find asteroids themselves. If they find the asteroids, they get code discovery credits for the asteroids. Their name could be linked to an asteroid. Yeah.
What do you hope to accomplish being here at Quizon?
I think we want people to understand that the University of Hawaii is being involved in both an international way and in a cutting-edge way in the science of astronomy. And so we are trying to push the limits both of the technology, like in the cameras, the technology in the telescopes, and we're trying to also foster an attitude of sharing with the consortium and international cooperation.
What inspires you?
That's an interesting question, and I'm really, in some ways I forget that a lot of times because I get so tied up in the day-to-day stuff. But I think I'm encouraged and inspired a lot of times both by being able to see things that people have never seen before. And I'm also inspired by the fact that We have the potential with this telescope to find asteroids that might threaten the Earth.
The declaration we will adopt here today can begin to close that gender gap by making it possible for more women to unleash their potential as workers, entrepreneurs, and business leaders. And the goals in this declaration are very specific. We commit to giving women access to capital so women entrepreneurs can turn their ideas into the small and medium enterprises that are the source of so much growth and job creation. We urge examining and reforming our legal and regulatory systems so women can avail themselves of the full range of financial services. And such reforms can also help ensure that women are not forced to compromise on the well-being of their children to pursue a business career. We must improve women's access to markets so those who start businesses can keep them open. For example, we need to correct the problem of what's called information asymmetric problems, meaning that women are not informed about the trade and technical assistance programs that are available, as we just discussed in agriculture.